The Report section of Riva Trademark includes one page for trademark reports and another page for patent reports. These are virtually identical in how they operate, so we'll toggle back and forth as we go. On the left side of the screen, you'll find a list of the available reports. To open a report, you need to select it here, and then preview the records that will go into the report by clicking this button. These are the records that will appear in the report. You can apply a whole list of filters up here, and we'll come back to how that section works, but if you want to apply a quick and easy filter before printing, you can use the filter row in the preview grid. So if I open the Trademarks by Name report without applying a filter, all my trademarks will appear in the report. But if I choose Germany as the jurisdiction, then the filter is applied here, and only these records will appear in the report. You can choose and arrange the columns you see here in the preview grid by clicking this button and by dragging columns around as you've seen before with the other grids. But for the report names that are shaded in white up here, the columns that appear in the grid have nothing to do with the columns that appear in the report. That's because these are all standard reports with a predetermined layout. So for these reports, the preview just determines which patents or trademarks will actually be printed. Some of the reports are alphabetical by company, some by the patent or trademark, some contain dates, some don't, and so forth. The easiest way to learn how each standard report is organized is to just open it up and look. As you saw earlier, you can apply some simple filters down here, but the real trick in getting the reports you want is in using the filters that you see up here on this side of the screen. To apply a filter, you first need to activate it by clicking the box to the right. Then scroll through the list of values and select the ones you want. You can use the checkbox at the top of the list to select or deselect all of the values, but remember, if you select all of the values, then you're really not filtering at all. In that case, just deselect the filter instead. Otherwise, you're making the system do a lot of unnecessary work to choose your records. So if I wanted to print a list of trademarks where the jurisdiction is Germany and the status is registered, I would deselect the other jurisdictions, then select Germany in the drop-down list, and then click the OK button here. And then I'd follow the same process to choose a status. The records that will print on the report are the same records that are visible in the grid, so whenever you've changed your filters up here, be sure to click the Preview button to repopulate the grid. So now if I print the report, I'll only get the trademarks that are registered in Germany. If you know exactly the values you want in these drop-down filters, you don't have to select them from the list. You can just type the values and separate them with commas. The date filters are a little more complicated. The dates that are selected in this column are the dates that will show up if the report includes dates. Right now, all the dates will appear in the report. But let's suppose I want to print all the trademarks for ABCD, but I only want to see the registration and renewal dates. So I would select just those two and then print my report. These options allow you to filter the records by a particular date range. So this time I want the same records, but I only want to see the marks where the registration date is in a specific range. And finally, I can decide to see only the trademarks where the renewal date is not complete. Another option you can use here is to apply the Alerts filter. This filter gives you the same trademarks you'd get if you went to the Alert screen and chose the same date range that you see here. The filters are cumulative, which means you'll only see the trademarks that match every criteria you've selected. So if you go to preview your trademarks and nothing shows up here, it means you've selected so many filters that you don't have any records that match every one of them. So in that case, you'll want to remove some filters and preview again. As you become familiar with using the reports, you'll probably find that there are certain combinations of filters that you use over and over. In that case, you'll want to save those filter combinations as stored filters. To create a stored filter, first open the stored filter list by clicking this hyperlink. Type the name you want for the filter and then close the list. Then to save your current filters as a stored filter, select the filter name here and then click this button. The next time you want to apply the stored filter, you can just select it from the list. We've created a few filters ahead of time to demonstrate how this works. So we'll start by clicking this button to clear any filters that were applied. And then we'll choose a stored filter. And another stored filter. Before you print a report, if you want to remind yourself or whoever is receiving the report exactly what you're seeing here, you can type a subtitle into this box, and it will appear as a subtitle on the printed report as well. You can also change the names of the reports by simply typing a different name in this field, so you're not stuck with the names we gave them. Once the report is open, you can of course print it, but you can also export it as a PDF. So let's try exporting this one as a PDF. We'll choose a location and give it a name. And now you have a PDF file that you can email to your clients or to another attorney. So now let's switch over to the patent reports, which works exactly the same way, and talk about these other reports which are shaded in yellow. Unlike the standard reports, which have a predetermined layout, you can determine exactly what will appear in these reports by making selections down here in the preview grid. What you end up with down here is pretty much exactly what you'll see on the printed report. The difference is that this report will print a list of patent records, and this report will print a list of patent records and patent dates. So let's start with the list report and demonstrate how this works. First thing we'll want to do is preview the records. And if you want to filter the records, you can do that now as well. And next we'll choose our columns. Once again, we can add columns by clicking this button and then dragging and dropping columns onto the list. We can rearrange and resize our columns. The columns that will appear on the report are the ones that appear to the left of this marker. So if there are any columns you don't need in the report, you can either drag them off the grid, or you can just drag them over here to the right where they won't be printed. Once you're happy with the arrangements of the columns, you can choose how to sort the data. To sort on a column, click the column header. So we'll start by sorting on the company name. And to apply a second sort, hold down the Shift key and click another column header. So we'll do that to apply a second sort order on the jurisdiction. And now we can print the report. Another option you can use for the list reports is to print the records in a group with a group header. So to do that, drag the column you want to use for the grouping and drop it up here. And as you can see, the grid is now divided into groups, and the report will be grouped exactly the same way. If you want each group to start printing on a new page when you run the report, then just choose this option. You can also add a second grouping, so let's demonstrate using the jurisdiction this time. And if you want to remove a group, then just drag it back down onto the grid. When you print a list report, the system stores the layout that you created for the grid. The next time you select that report and preview the records, that's the layout you'll get. So if I preview the records for one of these other reports, I'll get one layout. But if I preview the list, I get this grouped and sorted layout that I created the last time I printed the report. The list report with dates works almost exactly the same way. The difference is that this report adds the date fields to the records. So for each patent, we'll get one record for each patent date. If you don't want all the dates in your report, then click this option to open the date filters, and then select the dates you want to appear in the report by checking them in this column. And again, if you want to apply any date filters, you could do that in this section. And then, just like any other time you've changed your filters, you want to preview your records again. So we're going to arrange our columns and add a group like we did before. We'll do some resizing so we can fit the date columns in the report. And then when we're happy with the layout, we'll go ahead and print. The final two options for printing reports are these: Export to Word and Export to Excel. Now, just like with the list reports, the records that you'll be exporting are the same records that appear in the grid, although the options are a little bit different. So let's start by exporting to Word and show how this works. First, we need to select the report and then preview the records. And then, like with any other report, if you want to filter the records, you can do that up here, or apply some filters down here in the grid. Now right now I've got more columns than I actually want to export into my Word table, so I'm going to drag some of these off of the grid. If you include the graphic column, the patent graphic will appear in your Word table. Unfortunately, this option doesn't work in Excel, so the graphic column won't be available when you're exporting to Excel. Now here's where this is a little different from the other list reports. If I want to show who occupies a particular position on these patents, I can open the list of positions by clicking this hyperlink and then choose one or more positions for my export by clicking this box. The XLW here stands for Excel and Word Export. So we'll tell the system to include the responsible attorney in the records we're going to export. And if we preview the records again, we get that column in our data set. If we want to include any dates in the record set, we'll check this box to open the date filters, and then we'll select the dates we want to include by checking them in this column. So we'll add a couple of dates, and then when we preview the records again, you can see they show up in the record set. And we can rearrange and sort the records just like we did for the other list reports. And then when everything is arranged exactly the way we want it, we'll click this Report button to export the records into a table in Microsoft Word. And now we can just copy and paste this table into another document if that's what we need. Exporting to Excel works exactly the same way. Select the report, preview your records. You can add a position column. You can add date columns. You can arrange and sort the records in the grid just like we did before. And this time when you click the Print Report button, the contents of this preview grid will be exported into Excel. And from there you can use the tools in Excel to format your spreadsheet.